Alrighty, I am back with the living room tour. I'll walk in here so that you can see the jelly cupboard good. You'll see lots of the yard sale pieces we've recently got. Down here, this 4 is made out of one of the long paint paddles that you can buy at Lowe's. They're to stir the 5-gallon buckets of paint. So John, there again, made me a 4 out of that and painted it. I'm using one of his George Washington tobacco tins. They're vintage. And I just did a little vignette in it. I put the 4, I put the lantern, and a little bit of greenery. Then I have some of the vintage postcards, and there's a George Washington one. And then there is another sweet patriotic one. And they're sitting on one of my favorite little chairs. I have the flag that our friend gave us, friend Donna, a couple years ago. In this vintage cheese box, I have the journal of Major George Washington, and then historic Virginia landmarks. And you can see my Rumford cookbook that was my mama's peeping out of the back. And they're sitting on that wonderful old chest. And this adorable cat patriotic pillow with our little old vintage flower pot, and you still have the old doorknobs right there. Up here on the top, there's a vintage red and white plate. I have all the Cape Cod pieces. Some we've just got recently, and a couple pieces we had got at yard sales last year or year before. And there's the vintage red and white Betsy Ross plate. But the Cape Cod pieces just look so beautiful with the red and white transfer wire. And this beautiful blue doily and the red one down here, those are ones that our sweet subscriber Juanita made us. And of course, I have the Anna Lee Betsy Ross and Uncle Sam, and Betsy's sitting on another one of John's vintage George Washington tins. And these are patriotic noisemakers. And back there is a vintage military compass. And there is that wonderful inkwell that we got last week. And another one of those sweet postcards. And this is a vintage flag right here. And those pictures John made several years ago. We have the beautiful Billy Jacobs Patriotic Barn. And there is that reproduction coverlet throw that we got at a sale this year. And the middle truck pillow came from Michael's a couple years ago, and the Fresh Market truck ones, those came from Walmart last year. And on this table, I kept the dough bowl with the shoe forms and just added a bunch of the most wonderful patriotic items we have. There's vintage buttons on that little quilt square, the little Uncle Sam's songs, lots of patriotic vintage pins sticking in the shoe forms, and that wonderful Songs of Our Country. And this was a Desert Storm button. There's our super nice patriotic sand pails that we got on eBay many years ago, and we had to fight to get them. And I just love these Patriotic snap packages. And there is the Patriotic Boys Tool Chest and more Patriotic paper ephemera. And these two wonderful postcards. Well, it's 3 postcards. But there you can see those sand pails better. This is one of my favorite displays because it has so much antique. Some of it is so old it's considered antique rather than just vintage. All right, let me see if I can get up. The Patriotic bottle brush trees. One of my favorite things we've ever got at a yard sale is that flag print there. Well, it's actually not a print, it's hand painted. Another Billy Jacobs. And over here is where I always put all the old sailor pieces. That's an older Anna Lee sailor that our friend Janet got us. The sweet little sailor boy figurine. And then another sailor figurine. And that little box there with the little boy kissing a girl. He's got his little sailor suit on. That was made in Switzerland. And that's a vintage advertising card. And this says Victory on it. And it's awesome sailor doll. And the vintage frame with the vintage postcard in it. And here are more of those advertising cards. And I kept the watches there, the pocket watches. And there's the Ray Dunn sailor mug. And of course the ironstone pitcher. And that sweet little sailor photograph. And there's Uncle Sam and the little patriotic duck. And these are great books to look at for inspiration on patriotic vintage pieces and antique pieces and ways to display them. This is the pillow from Walmart this year, and they're only $5, so how can you go wrong? I just put a couple flags in that wall planter and put a USA on the Ray Dunn and a flag on the other Ray Dunn birdhouse. And just added a little foo-foo there. And there's the Mary Emmerling flag book. And there's a large vintage flag in the crock. And here's that great basket we got, and that little quilt piece that came out of that bag of quilt squares that we got at that sale a couple weeks ago. And John's shoes. And there are the Jim Shore, Uncle Sam, and Lady Liberty that we've had for years, and a lot of sweet Anna Lees. And my patriotic tree. I just love this tree. I just love sitting here and looking at it when it's all lit up at night. So many beautiful ornaments that we've accumulated over the years. There's handmade ones on there. There's some Hallmark, Jim Shore. Just a lot of variety. And more of the Sweet Annalise. And that awesome Uncle Sam. He's a rockin' Uncle Sam, and he's made of tin. And after I did the video last year, remember, I couldn't remember what craft show we got it at, but it was actually Kutztown, Pennsylvania Dutch Festival that we got. And it was just an awesome festival, and they had so many beautiful handcrafted items. That was years ago. And the big Anna Lee bunny that was a gift years ago to me is in John's old truck, and another little tiny bubblegum machine full of old buttons. And this cupboard has blue and white with just a few touches of red. And on the top it's the same, I just added a few red flowers. But we'll go over here and take a look. There's that Cobalt Avon picture that we got this past week. Lots of vintage historical plates in the back. And here's the blue and white Betsy Ross plate. And there's that sweet blue and white pot holder we got recently. The little teapot was a recent find. And the little blue and white butter pat was from our friend Janet. And right there's that beautiful picture we got last week. This was a find this summer. And back there is that gorgeous blue egg plate. And ironstone with some strawberries. Those cups were a yard sale find this year, as was that little creamer. I'll open up the other side. The Ray Dunn stayed right there since it's got the blue. Some Polish pottery, some vintage cobalt, ironstone, and the sugar shaker and the salt and pepper shaker has the blue cobalt inside with the silver on the outside. I don't know how we were so fortunate to find at two different times the blue and white Betsy Ross plate and then the red and white. And I just put a flag right there. I have Liberty up there. And that wonderful sampler moved over here. And I did do the shelf. I put the rag garland up and put the flag, wooden flag, above the house that John built. And the star leaning up against the crock is the one our friend Donna made a couple years ago. And I added geraniums to the crock and a flag to the water can. And just a few little patriotic touches down there. So this is all the living room tour. I hope everybody has a safe, wonderful 4th of July. Please enjoy it, but be careful when you're going home tonight. And be careful if you're setting off firecrackers, because so many accidents happen with fireworks. But do enjoy the day. Enjoy good food with family and friends. And we will see you again soon. Love and blessings from me and John and baby boy. Happy 4th, everybody. Bye-bye.